وكلا نقص عليك من أنباء الرسل ما نثبت به فؤادك وجاءك في هذه الحق وموعظة وذكرى للمؤمنين.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We are in the middle of Surah Naml, or in part of Surah Naml, in the middle of Suleiman alayhi salam's story, and we're coming towards the part where Suleiman alayhi salam has given his letter to Bilqis, and he's also refused the hadiyah, or the kind of bribe, if you want to call it, or a kind of, first it was, in their sense it was a gift, but as Suleiman alayhi salam took it, and he said, as Suleiman alayhi salam saw it rather, because he didn't accept the gift, as Suleiman alayhi salam saw it, he saw it as a bribe. So Suleiman alayhi salam, he rejected this gift. And what it shows is, it shows the strength of this individual, and in any political situation, those of them that show a weakness will be those who will lose in the end. So it needs to be, in any situation, strength, and those who show their strength need to show it till the end. And here Suleiman alayhi salam, one after the other, he's showing that he's in charge, and he's going to be the one who will be dominant by the end of it. So you'll see a number of things that Suleiman alayhi salam does to show no form of weakness. But at the same time, what he does is, there's a very delicate balance here. If you try and show all strength, no weakness, but at the same time you don't show hikmah, you don't show wisdom, you don't pull people slowly towards yourself, then you fall into another danger. People then might reject what you're trying to do, or people might reject your message simply because you're just being too harsh. Simply because you're being too harsh. So Suleiman alayhi salam, first he gets the news from Hudhud about this queen. Then he tests Hudhud, and he also tests the queen, because she has a great throne and she has a great kingdom. So he tests her by this letter. Then when she tests him with a hadiyah or a gift, he then shows his strength by saying and sending her men back, and giving a clear message that if they don't come to him, submitting their powers to him, subjugating themselves to him, then he will take them out of their city while they are disgraced. So he's now, not playing any games here, and he's shown his true cards, that he's serious about what he's saying. Now, there's going to be a number of things that Suleiman alayhi salam will do to try and bring this queen to accept that he is greater than her, he has more power than her, and that she should be the one who submits to his power. Now, what happens here is, when he sends them back, when he sends these people back, and he tells them, this is ayah number 37, إِرْجِعْ إِلَيْهِمْ فَلَنَأْتِيَنَّهُمْ بِجُنُودٍ لَا قِبَلَ لَهُمْ بِهَا وَلَنُخْرِجَنَّهُمْ مِنْهَا أَذِلَّةً وَهُمْ صَاغِرُونَ. He sends Hudhud back and says, go back, send another message. Tell them that we're going to take them out of their city disgraced. We will bring an army that they will never be able to compete. They won't be able to compete with this army. And then in the next ayah, this is Surah Naml, Surah number 27, ayah number 38. Suleiman alayhi salam is in his kingdom, and he now wants to prepare a few more things, a few more tests for her. For through wahi, Suleiman alayhi salam has learned that she is on her way. She has now told her subjects, she told all of them, let's leave, because if we don't go there now and submit ourselves, this new information that has come to us, this new letter from Hudhud, means that Suleiman alayhi salam is preparing with an army, and he's going to come and attack us, and he will take us out of this city disgraced. So she's now prepared with her men to leave, and her whole city to leave and come to Suleiman alayhi salam. While she's doing that, Allah Azza wa Jal, He sends wahi to Suleiman alayhi salam, and he knows now that she's left. While he knows she has left, he consults his close ones, and in his court of sort of consultation, he says, Ya ayyuhal mala, O my council of people who are close to him, ayyukum ya'tini bi'arshiha, which one of you will come with her throne, qabla an ya'tuni muslimin, before she comes to me submitting to my kingdom and under my kingdom, becoming part of those allies that are under my kingdom. So he has asked now a whole group of people as well as jinns inside, in his kingdom, who will do this, who will be able to bring her throne. Now why her throne? This is simply because her throne is possibly one of the most magnificent things she has in her kingdom. Okay, because when Hudhud went, he came back with the news and he said, "Walaha arshun azim." She has a really, a great throne. She has a great throne. Now, obviously, I spoke about this before that, Suleiman alayhi salam is going to show who is the great one and so on. And of course, above all, Allah Azza wa Jalla is the great one. But to show a queen who is on her way to him that he has the power to bring her entire throne from her palace without her recognition and cross it over from Yemen all the way to Palestine before she even arrives to Palestine is going to be a big wow. It's going to be a big surprise. Okay? So this is what he's planning. So he tells a whole group of humans and jinns who's going to be the one who will try and bring that throne to me before she arrives here as one who submits to me. Now, he already knows and he's got a good inclination that she's going to submit to his authority. So ayah number 39 says, قَالَ عِفْرِيتٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ أَنَا آتِيكَ بِهِ قَبْلَ أَن تَقُومَ مِن مَقَامِكَ. Ifrit, now Ifrit is a type of jinn, which is like not the common type of jinn, one who has some great powers, a kind of demonic type of jinn. So one great jinn, let's just call it a great jinn, because he was one who had submitted to Suleiman alayhi salam. He wasn't a devilish type of jinn, he was a good jinn, and he was a very powerful jinn. So this majlis or this gathering that Suleiman alayhi salam had was early in the morning, and he would have it till about Dhuhr time. And he must have asked some point in the morning this question, and that jinn said, that demonic sort of jinn said, I will be able to bring it to you before before you finish this gathering. Now the literal translation of it is before you get up from your place, which would mean that before he can even stand up in his place, he will get it. But the Mufassirin have said what it meant is that it was before he finished his gathering, which is before Dhuhr prayer or whatever, before that time, when the majlis or the whole session finishes. Before that, I'll be able to go there and bring it. Now, this is absolutely amazing. So we're talking about a distance from, if you look at the map, from Palestine to Yemen is quite a bit of a distance. It could be about 2,000 kilometers, Allahu Alam, I don't know how much it is. But that whole distance, he's saying in about a few hours, we're talking about possibly 3-4 hours, within that, he will go there, he will pick it up and he will bring it back to Suleiman alayhi salam. Now, jinns do have, now what this proves is, because this is in the Quran, and there are people who don't believe in a lot of things that are said about jinns sometimes. And I know also there's a lot of garbage and a lot of made up stuff and fabricated things that are said about jinns which are not true. So you've got to keep the balance here. You can't, just because of the fabricated stories, you can't throw away the true facts, what jinns can do and what they're capable of, and our world with the jinns. And because of you being some people go to the other extreme. Anything they hear about a jinn, any story, they're just like, yeah, tell me more. Like, let's add on to the stories, okay? Because you've got to understand the nature of people is that they will add things on. Even a simple story. I can tell you this, a simple story that you tell someone, and they'll tell someone else, and they'll tell someone else. We know that Chinese whispers does exist. So people make things up. So basically, I'll give you a story. This is a true story. Chinese whispers. in my family. I'm going to give you a true story, okay? The news came to me that one close, relative of mine, he took his wife to the nightclub. Astaghfirullah. Yeah? A close relative of mine took his wife, newly married wife, to the nightclub. Now, isn't that horrific, guys? Tell me yes or no. So you straight away will say what? You say astaghfirullah, right? Say, Alhamdulillah, how did this happen? How did this happen? How can this person who's praying 5 times a day, who I know closely, who's related to me, how does he do this with his wife? So what I did is I thought, no. Before I take anything in, right, I better trace this whole thing back. So the person who told me this news, I said, who told you the news in the family? So they said, so-and-so said the news to me. I said, okay, fine, I'm ringing so-and-so. So I rang so-and-so in the family. I said, tell me, what did you tell? Like I think it was my wife that told me the news. So I said, okay, tell me, where did you get from this source? I said, okay, let me hear it from your source. I said, what did you say? So this person said, I heard this, that he went to some sort of club or some place, like a club. I said, okay, who did you hear it from? So he says, from so-and-so. I said, let me go to so-and-so. So I rang so-and-so. And the family is all going around. The Chinese whisper, this is how it starts, yeah? What did you hear? He said, I heard that he went to a place like a museum. Alright? Now from a club, it's changed to a museum now. Okay, so I said, okay, fine. Who did you hear from? So I heard it from so-and-so. I said, okay, let me ring so-and-so. Back to them. So what did you hear? What did you say? He said, I heard he went to a place like a wax museum. A wax museum, okay? So I said, okay, fine. Who did you get the information from? From so-and-so. Okay, fine, let me go to so-and-so. So I rang it. And the man said, what did you... Because this was now the original person, right? The first person. I said, what did you say? And then she said, I said that he went to Madame Tussauds. Now if you go to Madame Tussauds, it's a wax museum, okay? It's a museum, so it's a museum with like people who are waxed over. So from there, the Chinese whisper started from Madame Tussauds. He took his wife to Madame Tussauds, which is halal, okay? It's fine. You went to central London, Madame Tussauds, you went there, fine, alhamdulillah, right? From there, the next person said he went to a wax museum. The next person interpreted museum to kind of a club or something, and then the next person made it a nightclub, and me receiving it, astaghfirullah. Okay? So what I'm trying to say to you guys is like, this is human. This is about us and the dunya. Can you imagine some person has a jinn story or something like that? You've really got to go to the source, to the person. You've got to look at what they've said, the original source. What did they say? And it's difficult sometimes to get down to the sources, I understand. But if you don't get down to that, if you don't verify it, you could end up with any story, because people keep on adding things up. Because any person can add a little bit up and it makes it a bit more exciting. It's a bit more exciting. In Bangladesh, they call it, they say that when you narrate something, you say to them, listen, the way you narrated it, yeah, I went to the original source and I listened to them, and it's not like the way you're saying it. They said, yeah, I narrated it to you, but I put a bit of coloring on it. I put a bit of coloring on it. So I made it seem a bit, nicer. It's not black and white, it's a bit nicer. Now they call it coloring. Okay? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You can give it whatever name you want, but it's not the truth. Okay? So what happens with stories about jinns is that you get one extreme, they add in all the fabricated information. People exaggerate. Another extreme is that they throw everything out of the window. They say that none of this is true. Jinns don't have an effect on human beings. Jinn can't do this, jinns can't do that. So one of the things is that, can jinns actually move a physical object? Can jinns move a physical object from a human world and place it somewhere else? And the answer is yes. Why? Because this is the ayah. This ifrit min al-jinn, this type of jinn, is saying to Suleiman alayhi salam, and it's clear it's a jinn. There's no way you can say this is a human that is saying this. It's a jinn, ayah number 39, surah number 27, who's saying that, I will be able to bring her throne from her place right down to yours before this gathering finishes. This is a physical throne, a real one, and bringing it all the way over to Jerusalem and putting it in front of Suleiman alayhi salam is not a joke. Okay. Now the thing was, he was a very strong jinn, because there are different levels. Not every jinn could do this. Not every jinn can do this. This is talking about a very heavy item from a long way away, lifting it up, bringing it all the way to Jerusalem and putting it in front of Suleiman alayhi salam. If he couldn't do it, he wouldn't have said it. And even if he did say it and it was a lie, then Allah wouldn't have reported it in the Quran. Where the jinn adds on, he says, وَإِنِّي عَلَيْهِ لَقَوِيٌّ أَمِينٌ. And upon this matter, I am not only one that has got great strength, but I'm also one that is Ameen. I am one who is trustworthy. So Qawi, which is strong, and Ameen, which is I have got, I can be trusted. Now, straight after that, another individual within the crowd says this. This is now ayah number 40. قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب. The one who had knowledge of the book said this. أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك. I can bring it to you, O Suleiman alayhi salam. I can bring it to you before you can blink the next time you blink. Before that, I can bring it. Now this is some super power. All right. And this is all Quran, guys. This is not some fairy tale I'm telling you here. Okay, we believe 100% this happened. And why Allah mentions this in the Quran is because it tells us a lot about our real world and about the jinn world and so on. Now there's a lot to talk about here, because the Mufassirin now have fallen into a big debate. This ayah 40 of Surah number 27, was this also a jinn or was this a human? Okay, because those of them that now are inclined towards, well, a jinn wouldn't be able to, if we accept that a jinn does this, then you've accepted that jinns have such power. Before you can blink, they can bring such a heavy item, a valuable item, pick it up from the human world, from thousands of kilometers away, and bring it here within a blink of an eye. This is outstanding. And then they've gone into different tafsir of, well, who was this person? What was he? And when the Quran said ilmun min al-kitab, what did it mean? Now we're going to get to that. Before I get to that, what I want to say to you is that the previous ayah that says there's a jinn that has said he will bring it before Suleiman alayhi salam can even get up and finish. There's a part that at the end he says laqawiyyun ameen. I am one who's strong and I can be trusted. Now, what this shows that Suleiman alayhi salam is talking to a jinn who is not only strong and has the strength to do these things, but this jinn is one who has built a trust with Suleiman alayhi salam. This jinn is one certainly who is under the power of Suleiman alayhi salam, but is also saying that he has got that trust that he will not do anything that's corrupted. Now this brings us to another whole question, which is, first is the question, should and can a human being tell a jinn or overpower a jinn or command a jinn to go and do something for the human in the world? Is that allowed at all? Okay, this brings a big question. So Suleiman alayhi salam is one who is obviously a prophet, and Allah Azza wa Jalla has given him a mu'jiza and a miracle that he's able to control all of these jinns. So that's his specific power. Now amongst the scholars there's a division, and you have to understand this is division, and it's completely accepted in Islam to have several views as long as they're all based on the Quran and Sunnah. So amongst these scholars there are two views. One view says that only Suleiman alayhi salam should have that power and nobody after him should have that power. Nobody after him should influence a jinn, should try and get a jinn under their command, and certainly to tell a jinn to go and do something, nobody after Suleiman alayhi salam should do that. And their dalil is where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, once he had this jinn that was bothering him in the masjid, And the Prophet ﷺ then decided, I mean, he wanted the jinn just to go, and the jinn did not want to go. So the Prophet ﷺ then, he read something and he managed to tie the jinn to a pillar of the masjid. That pillar is still in Masjid al-Nabawi. Okay, that particular pillar is there. If you look at the one particular sort of height of all the pillars, they've got certain things written there that will tell you which pillar is for what. So we are talking about the actual Rawda itself. In there are all those pillars. They've all got, or most of them have got some kind of significance about something or another that happened. So the Prophet ﷺ tied the jinn to the pillar at night time, and he carried on praying, and Fajr time was coming, and the Prophet ﷺ thought, okay, I've tried this jinn, I'll wait till the people of Medina come for Salah, and when they come for Salah, they will be able to see for themselves how a jinn looks like. And he was about to hold him there till Fajr, but then he said, what happened is Fajr came, and Rasulullah ﷺ addressed his people, and he said, last night I had tied a jinn like this to this certain pillar, and I let him go for the reason that I remembered my brother Suleiman alayhi salam, his dua. And Suleiman alayhi salam, we've said this before, but I just do it just as a reminder and give you the reference in the Quran. Suleiman alayhi salam made a specific dua to Allah, and he said, this is in Surah number 38, ayah number 35. Rabbi ighfirli, my Lord, forgive me, wahabli mulkan, give me such a kingdom. La yanbaghi li ahadin min ba'di, nobody after me will be able to get this kingdom. Innaka antal wahhab, you are certainly the one who gives gifts, great gifter. So he says, I remembered this dua of my brother Suleiman, meaning the brother in prophethood, and therefore I released him, because the way the Prophet ﷺ told us is almost like, well, I am now tying a jinn and keeping it under my control until you guys come and see this jinn. So because I remember Suleiman alayhi salam, his dua meant that his power, whatever his power he gets, nobody after him should get the same power. And part of that is nobody after him should sort of, control a jinn in this manner. And by remembering that, I thought of releasing the jinn. Okay, so this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a hadith. Now, again, what the question comes down to is, was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam trying to do this because he was trying to shut down for any person of this ummah ever to influence a jinn, or was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing this because if he does this, then the rest of the ummah can actually, they can actually start to, have a good relationship with jinns until the day of judgment, because no one's going to, just to make Muslims back off. But then again, there is still the possibility that a Muslim can do this. Which one is it? Is it that the Prophet ﷺ is telling us through this that never ever, my ummah never ever do this? Or is the Prophet ﷺ saying is that, look, I'm teaching you, it can be done, but I'm teaching you not to do it. But then again, there are certain people who might do it for a certain reasons. Which one is it? So there are a group of scholars are saying that that's it, khalas. We've heard the Prophet ﷺ doing this, we should not influence a jinn in this manner. And there are others who are saying that what the Prophet ﷺ is doing is that he's teaching us is better not to do it, but he's not prohibiting us from doing it. If somebody has a good reason to do it, then they can do it. Now I'm getting into a sort of uncharted waters here, okay guys, yeah? So sit with patience and listen till I get to the end of it. And hopefully I don't get a whole barrage of fatwas that start to gun me down after I finish what I'm going to say. So, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, don't forget, there were certain things that he did in his lifetime that was for the ummah, out of having mercy out of the ummah, but it wasn't like he's prohibiting us from doing it. For example, in his lifetime, he prayed 3 nights where he had jama'ah with taraweeh. And the 4th night, this is a sahih hadith, and the 4th night the people were ready to come and do jama'ah or congregation with taraweeh. And the Prophet ﷺ then turned around and he said, he didn't come out, and when they inquired, he said that I'm not going to hold a congregation tonight because khashiyah, I've got a fear that my ummah might take it as a fard. So therefore he left it. He left it for his lifetime. And Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu was the one that brought the whole sunnah of doing congregational jama'ah with taraweeh back again. He brought it back into existence because he understood that the Prophet ﷺ message to us was, look, I don't want my ummah to think it's fard. The same way you will find many other incidences in the Prophet ﷺ's time where he did something and people went ahead of him doing more. He didn't prohibit them, but he sort of allowed them to carry on. So for example, the Prophet ﷺ, he had certain people who would recite a lot of Quran in his time. And some of them, he told them, okay, if you're going to read the Quran in this many days, then no less than 3 days should you finish the Quran. He limited them to there. But then again, you find Uthman radiallahu anhu, on several occasions, he finished the whole Quran in one night, in 2 rakats. It's a tradition well known. And Imam Nawawi has recorded this. There are several Sahaba. Imam Nawawi has recorded eight different Sahaba radiallahu anhu ajma'in, who used to finish the Quran in one night. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, in one Umrah he did in Makkah al-Mukarramah, when he did 30 days in the Haram of Makkah, he completed 60 Qurans, one by day and one by night. This is a recorded tradition from Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. Although the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the general Sahaba made it clear that, if you're going to recite the Quran, don't recite it within less than 3 days. So what this shows us is that although the Prophet ﷺ is making those statements, he's making those statements to show and to have some mercy on us, that we all don't get into a certain thing. And certain specific people might be able to get into a certain thing. That's something special. That's the extraordinary. So here, what those Mufassirin have said is that there have been a number of scholars in Islam in the past. Even today, I know certain individuals who have, either they've got a friend who is a jinn, who's with them. Okay, this is true. Some of you might think it's far-fetched, but I've been in contact with certain people who've got that. Now the thing is it allowed again? Now according to first scholars, it's not allowed. According to the second set of scholars, it's allowed with condition, and the condition is here, which is Ameen. This is ayah number 39 of surah number 27, which is that they will not do anything which the Sharia prohibits. So even the jinn will not do anything the Sharia prohibits, and the human will not command anything which the Sharia prohibits. So for example, what will the human do? The human will tell or make this jinn his assistant to try and help other humans who've been affected by jinns. Okay, again, it's a very controversial, very contentious sort of area, because some believe that this is now going into very, unlawful sort of waters and so on, and some say, well, it's fine as long as the niyyah and the intention is fine. And that's why this jinn adds on laqawiyyun ameen, that one, he has the power to do it, because if you actually are within that world, one is, look, it gets quite dangerous for ordinary people. Most people, in fact 99% of people, whatever, it's going to get dangerous for them to try and cross that barrier. Now what is that barrier? If you want to have a whole, I haven't got time to get into this deeply, but I've got a lecture on YouTube, The World of the Unseen. The World of the Unseen on YouTube. And also there's I think some have done the same lecture in called some lecture on jinn or something. There's a whole sort of lecture which I did in this masjid. It's on YouTube. If you want to go through that, you'll see the whole sort of idea of what jinns and humans are and how they sort of can come and cross that barrier between one another. But here Suleiman had that power with his mu'jiza, or the miracle that Allah Azza wa Jal gave. And when human beings, ordinary human beings in this ummah want to make that connection, there's a number of ways they make that connection. One is that sometimes jinns befriend you. Jinns sometimes can befriend you, and they can follow you, they can be with you, and they will at some point reveal themselves to you, or even say a word or something to you, so that if at that moment you're not scared or you're not frightful of what they've just said to you, they will basically make friends with you. Okay? And there are a number of people who've done this. I've met people in my life who've told me very clearly that someone is with them and so on. And there's good things. For example, one person I met said that his good jinn wakes him up for Fajr. It's a simple thing. Wakes him up for Fajr. That's the only thing it does. So if he's If he's sleeping one morning and he's not getting up for Fajr, you know, he'll just shake his foot, and he's used to it. You know, he's used to it. Some of you are saying, "A'udhu billah," you know, you probably poo in bed or whatever. I don't know what might happen to you, right? But the thing is, he's got used to it. He's got used to it. First, it won't be straight away a quick shake on the foot. It'll probably be something else that you start to sort of feel, and you get it for Fajr, and then slowly, you kind of get used to his presence. I know another person who has seen, who's a very close person to me, who I wouldn't doubt, I wouldn't say that this person is lying, that he has one in the house that slowly started to, you know, you get movement sometimes, whatever, and then he gets used to, until now, he's actually seen the jinn several times in the room praying as well. These are jinn mu'min, these are believing jinns that can reveal themselves. Now, one is befriending, another one is that there is an effort to try and catch or get the jinn. And sometimes the people who do ruqyah, the people who actually do ruqyah, sometimes when they do the ruqyah, they actually ask the jinn to convert to Islam. And sometimes the jinns lie, this is a very fact. Sometimes the jinns are lying about them converting. And sometimes it's true that they do convert. And sometimes when they do convert, they disappear. And sometimes when they do convert, they don't disappear, but they befriend the one who made them a Muslim, the Raqi, or the one who's actually done Ruqyah. And this is well known in this world. Some of you might think, well, this is now, you know, like, this is weird, man. What am I hearing, man? This is weird. But you've got to get into this entire world to see these people, to know them. And again, there are a lot of phonies amongst us human beings that could tell you all sorts of things. Please, let's get the balance right. Some people might come up to you and say, yeah, I've got this many, you know, jinns or whatever. I've even met certain people who, it's kind of ridiculous, some of the stories. They say, oh, this woman came, you know, she's possessed, whatever, and the person who's doing ruqyah comes and, you know, with the family's there, he does his whatever, and then after that he says, yeah, in her there were 996 jinns, and I basically took out 993 and there's still 3 inside. Ah, come on, give me another story, man, please, man. Daily Mail stories, seriously. 996, come on, were you there counting all of them? You counted all of them first, and how in the world did they fit inside, and how did you count them, and you beat 900? You could beat 993, but then there's 3 left. And then after that, there's some more jinns that come every day, you know. Oh my God. And it's like the first question I ask is, and these are stories happening in London, seriously, in London they're happening. And every other day I'm getting people calling me and telling me this happened. I say, why do you go to these people? And they take money after. This is a big thing. You know, as soon as people say to you that they want to take money because of ruqyah, just stop there, okay? Just stop there, seriously. Because once they take money off you, they'll be tempted to take more money off you, and so on. The best, I've said again in the other lecture as well, the best one is those people who don't actually take any money. The best of those who don't take any money, who do it who do it for Allah's sake, who do it for Allah's sake. Now, what it is that you'll hear all sorts of people, all sorts of stories. The thing is, there are true ones amongst them who do have an influence of jinns with them, but they will only use them for something which is halal, which is sometimes when they're doing ruqyah and so on, there are other jinns that might come, and they will, you know, every person who does ruqyah, any person who does ruqyah, and if you're ever thinking of doing ruqyah, if you ever get like, you know, too like, you know, my iman's going up, man, my iman's going up, I'm going to become a ghostbuster, right? Now, you know, people do this. People get thinking, oh, I've done a sujood, mashallah, I'm praying 5 times a day. There's a person who had problem, you know, oh man, you see, they start crying when I blow on them, I'm getting big now, you know. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. You've only just touched a puny little jinn, okay? The day you come across some serious jinn, you've got serious problems. I'm telling you, serious problems. It's like you going out there. If you go out there right now, yeah, you got out there of this masjid, and you see some odd guy, yeah, just, you know, skinny guy, odd guy, and you punch him one, yeah, he'll run. Okay, not that I'm asking you to do that, yeah. You punch him, he'll run, yeah, and then you go and you think, yeah, you're tough now, you go and punch another one, you know, he runs, or punch another one. One day, not one day even, you just kind of doing that, you come across some guy, yeah, you punch him, he'll punch you back, and then you think you punch him, you know what he'll do? He'll do some serious damage to you. Serious damage to you, because you pick on the wrong one who has some strength. They'll show you. Now, this is what happens in the world of ruqyah, which is all these raqis, no matter how many you bring me, most of them, 90, above 95% of those, possibly more than that, of those who do ruqyah, either some jinn has affected them in the end, in their life, or it's affected a family member of theirs. Okay, because when they see that they can't go for the raqi, when they see they can't go for you who's doing the ruqyah, they'll go for your children who are vulnerable, or they'll go for your wife, or they'll come to you at old age and they'll do something. When you're weak, or in your weak moment, they'll come and they'll do something. Okay, so it's not a game. This is not a world of games to do this. And when Suleiman alayhi salam is here and he's got jinns where he's just so freely saying, who's going to bring me this throne of Bilqis all the way down to here? This is not a simple thing that you can just think of like just telling a jinn to do something, because jinns have their own mind as well. They have their own mind, and they don't need to listen to what you say. In fact, most of them, they hate being, it's in their nature, they hate being enslaved. Just like a human would hate being enslaved. To have a jinn under your power, you're like enslaving him. You call him when you want, you tell him what to do. I know sometimes if it's a befriending one, it's not the case, okay? So if it's the first one I said, which is they're friends with you, it's not the case. But if it's the second one where you're kind of, like, no, sorry, the second one I said to you is that through ruqyah they could come and they say, we'll do something for you, that's fine. There's the third one, sorry. The third one is that a human goes out of his way to try and subjugate a jinn, to try and bring that jinn under his power. This is the one that is very, very, very dangerous, and where humans can get killed in this process. Humans can get killed in this process, and you might have heard even in the non-Muslim world there are efforts to do this. The Ouija board, the Ouija board, and they have all these other methods of trying to call upon the devils or call upon the jinns or whatever, and then they want to sort of somehow possess them or somehow trying to get in control of them. It's a very, very dangerous game. Very dangerous game, because people have gone mad. A lot of people have gone insane through this, and you feel sorry for them, because some of these people who are in these mental hospitals, some of them, I'd say at least a third of them, are not really mental by a medical condition. They've got probably a jinn or something that's problematic within them. And about a third or half of them have probably got real psychological problems. Another third have probably, or less than third, have been wrongly convicted or ended up there, or something else that is not that serious has happened and led to them being in a mental hospital. But about a good third, or maybe more than that, 40% of them will be real patients with mental conditions. But a third of them will probably not be that. I mean, I've got there's a Raqi that I know personally that went to see a patient in a mental hospital, and when he walked in, this is serious, but this person in London, when he walked in the mental hospital, when he walked in there, half these patients came to their doors, to the windows, trying to smash the windows, smash the doors, just to come near him. Wherever he went, they were following him. And he went in, tried to see this one patient, and they were sort of going crazy inside the mental hospital. So in the end, he just walked back out, and the staff were saying, who in the world are you? We've never seen our patients go mad like this. Half the patients went mad, and they were all following him. They wanted to grab hold of him, because those ones had some, they were the other kind, the jinn kind, that saw this Raqi has come in. They would want to just take out the Raqi. So anyway, look, the whole point of me going off on a tangent with this is that it's a true world. There are some Muslims who say that this whole thing is not allowed for you to have any influence or any jinn. That's fine. If you want to believe the akhi, that's fine. That's your prerogative. You take that position, that's fine. But don't say in Islam there's no other way, or there's nothing else that is allowed. Because from this we understand that Suleiman alayhi salam definitely had, according to the Quran, he did that fine. Whether others can do that, I know it's contentious, but you must respect what scholars have said, and scholars from old and new have had certain practices, and we respect all of that. Now the second ayah, which is the person who had the knowledge of the book, who was he? Was he a jinn? Some have said he was a jinn, and he was a more powerful jinn. And some have said no, it wasn't a jinn, it was a human being. So a human being Not that a human being flew all the way to Yemen and brought it. No, the human being had some special knowledge, because he says, ilmun min al-kitab, had knowledge of the book. And some others have said, no, it wasn't even a human being, it was Jibreel alayhi salam. Jibreel alayhi salam, who was in the form of a human being there, being consulted, and he's the one who said, I'll bring it to you before a blink of an eye. And so some have gone to that. Some have said it was Suleiman alayhi salam himself that did that. There's all sorts of tafsirs here. There's quite a few, debated and differences that they've got. So some have said it's Suleiman alayhi salam, meaning that when he asked everybody who's going to do it, and one great jinn said that he's going to bring it before he finishes his majlis, his gathering, Suleiman alayhi salam himself said that to that person, I'll bring it before you can blink your eye, and then he brought it. But this again doesn't really fit. I've read the tafsir, but I don't kind of incline towards it. I incline towards it was not Suleiman alayhi salam, it was somebody else. Now again, some Mufassirin have said that he was a human and his name was Asif, and he had a special knowledge. What was his special knowledge? His special knowledge, they say, was that he knew some of the hidden scriptures that Suleiman alayhi salam had. And when we say ilmun min al-kitab, see, al-kitab sometimes in the Quran refers to that big tablet in Lawh al-Mahfuz. In the heavens there is something called Lawh al-Mahfuz, which we know from the Quran, which is a great tablet. On that tablet are all the scriptures and all the revelations. On that tablet was the Torah. On that tablet was the Injil. On that tablet was Zabur. On that tablet was Suhuf Ibrahim, Suhuf Ibrahim wa Musa. Musa alayhi salam scriptures, Ibrahim alayhi salam scriptures. On that tablet was the Quran. Okay, and on that tablet is all this other sort of secret sort of knowledge that Allah revealed to different prophets, whether it was form of wahi or something else. It all came from that one great kitab. Al-kitab meaning that one big tablet. So what they say is that Suleiman alayhi salam, he had certain secret scrolls or things with him that were given to him by Allah Azza wa Jal, through which he was able to do certain things, through which he was able to empower the jinns and other things. And this person was his wazir, his minister, whether he was Asif or whoever. And this minister knew, he had been taught by Suleiman alayhi salam to use these certain words and certain phrases, because of which there was a great influence, and he would be able to do that as a karama and as a sort of a mini miracle. What we call a mini miracle, when a human being is able to do a kind of a miracle, we call it karama. When a prophet does it, we call it a mu'jiza, an outstanding miracle which nobody else can perform. Now, this part that I've said to you opens up another whole world that we need to discuss, which is that okay, let me actually there's a whole part of this verse. I need to finish the verse. Okay, let me make an indication towards the other world, and then I'm going to move on with this part of the verse. What this opens up to is that in Suleiman alayhi salam's time, because he was able to influence the jinns and humans had more or less, in his time, in his place, it was known that jinns would be around where humans also would be around. Okay? So when he would make jinns work for him, it wasn't like invisible jinns. These were jinns that would also come to his gathering, that would also report back to him, that also other humans were able to talk to them and see them and have conversations with. What this opened up is, it opened up another whole sort of world, which is, we know that sihr, which is black magic, it exists. Now sihr, black magic, is done when you're able to influence a jinn, or you're able to use certain words that will possibly subjugate a jinn to you, and because of that, that jinn would have to go to another human being or somebody else, and they'd do something to their mind, they'd make them think in a certain way and do certain things. Now again, please listen to that lecture of mine, The World of the Unseen, and I'll discuss this at length. Here's not the time for me to get into all of this, but I simply want to say to you, there are certain people who, like, anything goes wrong, oh my God, jinn. Anything goes wrong, sihr. anything goes wrong, evil eye. The three things. Either jinn, sihr, black magic, or it's got to be evil eye. Oh my God, everything's gone wrong because, oh my God, this jinn's here, or jinn doing this, sihr here, black magic, someone done black magic on us, or we've got the evil eye. Now, evil eye is true, sihr is true, and jinn is true. But the thing is, a brother saying hasad as well, there's also jealousy of people find. But what I'm saying is that there's two extremes here. One extreme is people say anything gone wrong, these three things. Another extreme is don't believe in any of this. That's another extreme, because sometimes it's true, it is jinn. Sometimes true, it is sihr. Sometimes true, it is evil eye. How do you find out? Well, the best raqis will send you first to a doctor, will send you to GPs. It's very important that people get diagnosed properly by the system that we've got there, through the hospital system. And if the doctors are baffled and they can't find anything, and they see the symptoms but they're baffled, that's usually a case when you bring that patient to a raqi and he finds one of these three, then he will deal with it. But if you haven't got to the GP and you're just going to a raqi, I think you're really making a big mistake here, because it could be medical. You need to check the medical side out first, seriously, because there are all sorts of things that can happen, medically, that can go wrong, which people need to first consult before they come to this side. Now, what I want to say to you is that sihr is something, black magic is something that is they do use evil jinns to try and create this black magic, and this is all in the Quran, and this has been mentioned with Suleiman alayhi salam there, in the sense that some people tried to blame Suleiman alayhi salam for some of this happening on the earth, some of the black magic that happens on the earth. Okay, so this is a reference in the Quran. I'm going to give you more tafsil, more explanation possibly next week on this, but I just want to make a quick reference to this today, which is ayah number 102 of Surah Baqarah, Surah number 2. وَاتَّبَعُوا مَا تَتْلُو الشَّيَاطِينُ عَلَى مُلْكِ سُلَيْمَانَ. There are devils who started to recite certain things in the kingdom of Suleiman alayhi salam. وَمَا كَفَرَ سُلَيْمَانَ. Suleiman alayhi salam himself never committed any kufr, any disbelief, anything wrong. He did not do anything wrong. وَلَكِنَّ الشَّيَاطِينَ. But the devils were the ones who disbelieved and who would teach people sihr, who would teach people how to do, because the jinns and human beings came together. There were many devils and shayateen who were also subjugated under Suleiman alayhi salam's power. And because they were subjugated under his power, they were able to talk to the human beings, and they taught them certain things, because they were shaitan, they were devils. And the only thing was that because Suleiman alayhi salam, they were scared of him, and they didn't sort of disobey him. If they disobeyed him, the Quran says they were put into prison. The Quran itself in Surah Sad says those jinns who were devils, who were shayateen, who did not accept Suleiman alayhi salam's message, they were, or his obedience, they did not obey him, they were put into prisons. So these jinns, some of them, what they did, these were shayateen, these were devils. They listened to him, they obeyed him because they just, didn't want to get into prison, but they still did on the sly. They spoke to human beings and they taught them certain things that were not good, because they wanted to corrupt these human beings. And one of the things they taught them was sihr and how to do sihr. And then they spread this information. They said, do you know Suleiman alayhi salam? Do you know him? Do you know Suleiman? You know how he does it? You don't know how he does it? Everything he's got now. It's not the power of God. It's the power of sihr. He uses black magic to do all of this. Right? So some of these devils, they started to corrupt the belief in some of the believing human beings that were with Suleiman alayhi salam. And even some of the general public, they started to teach them sihr and teach them black magic and teach them the belief, na'udhu billah, that everything Suleiman alayhi salam does is through black magic. Now Allah Azza wa Jalla had to then break this whole thing and show on the earth that no, what Suleiman alayhi salam is doing is pure mu'jiza, it's pure miracle. His whole ring that he's got in his hand, or the fact that he's got the power to command the wind to blow and take him from one land to another land, which we said from the Quran. The fact that Suleiman alayhi salam is even able to subjugate the jinns under him, the fact that he's got this great power and influence, the fact that he's able to even speak to the birds. He can speak to the ants. This is all from the Quran. These are all from the miracles of Suleiman alayhi salam. And a miracle is in no way in any comparison to what black magic is. Miracles of prophets and black magic are not equal. So to teach this difference, Allah Azza wa Jal, He had sent 2 angels, okay, to the land of Babylon. This is in sort of part of Iraq. And that time, you know, the whole of Palestine and Jerusalem and around them, parts of Iraq, it was all known as the greater sort of Sham, the greater sort of Syria. So it wasn't the same borders that we've got today. It's not a different country. So in Babylon, Allah Azza wa Jal sent 2 angels, Harut and Marut. Okay, Harut and Marut. This is all in Surah Baqarah, Surah number 2, ayah number 102. And Harut and Marut, they came in human form to the earth. And their whole idea was that they would teach people the difference between how sihr works and how a real miracle works. Because things had got corrupted. People were now getting into sihr, they were getting to black magic and using that for wrong gains. And Harut and Marut came simply to teach them the difference between the two, so that the aqidah and the belief of people would still establish that Suleiman alayhi salam is performing real miracles, whereas what the shayateen and the devils have taught people is sihr. It's a way of mesmerizing you, but it's not really a miracle. So they came to teach the difference. Why? They wanted people to believe in the truth and reject the false. Okay, reject the sihr, reject black magic. That was the whole purpose. And the Quran even tells us, وَمَا يُعَلِّمَانِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ حَتَّى يَقُولَا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ فِتْنَةٌ فَلَا تَكْفُرْ. They came to the people who knew sihr. They came to the people who knew all of this. And they came to them and said, look, don't commit kufr, don't commit disbelief. We're going to teach you the difference. But don't commit the disbelief. You'll know how this one works, and you know that that one is out of human control. The one of mu'jiza, miracles, is out of human control. Humans can't do what mu'jiza, any of the mu'jizas. Anything that a prophet has done in terms of miracle, until the day of judgment, people will not be able to do that. People will not be able to replicate what a mu'jiza and a miracle is, because these are specific things that Allah gave to prophets. Anyway, this whole thing about it and a few other things I want to say about it, I will say next week, because today we're running out of time. I just want to finish this ayah. The rest of this ayah, where what happens is that Suleiman alayhi salam is in his gathering and he says, who's going to bring her throne? And one said he'll bring it before his majlis finishes. The other said before you can blink. And true enough, before Suleiman alayhi salam could blink again, he blinked, and her arsh, her whole throne from Yemen, this person, whoever he was, who had the knowledge of the book, whatever that knowledge Allah gave him, he used that knowledge to say something, to influence in such a way that he brought that whole real arsh and whole real throne from Yemen all the way to Jerusalem in front of Suleiman alayhi salam, inside the whole palace of Suleiman alayhi salam. فَلَمَّا رَآهُ مُسْتَقِرًّا عِنْدَهُ. When Suleiman alayhi salam saw that this magnificent, great piece of the kingdom of Bilqis is in front of him, he said, هَذَا مِنْ فَضْلِ رَبِّي. This is from the bounty of my Lord. This is from the bounty of my Lord. Now, why is he saying this? He added, لِيَبْلُوَنِي أَأَشْكُرُ أَمْ أَكْفُرُ. Allah is testing me through this, whether I show gratitude or whether I am unthankful. وَمَنْ شَكَرَ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. Whoever is grateful, then he does it for himself. The benefits of that will only reach himself. وَمَنْ كَفَرَ. Whosoever is ungrateful, فَإِنَّ رَبِّي غَنِيٌّ كَرِيمٌ. Then my Lord is one who is most independent and he is most noble, meaning Allah doesn't need such a person. Now look at this. Suleiman alayhi salam has got a person in his kingdom who is able to do such an act, where he brings such a great thing, monument in front of him. And the first thing that goes through his mind is not that, did you see my power? Did you see how great I am? Did you see what kind of people I've got with me? You know, it's none of that. It's straight away, هَذَا مِنْ فَضْلِ رَبِّي. This is from the bounty of my Lord. Anything that we've received, anything at all, please don't ever think that it is from Allah's, you know, it is from, don't think that it is from you or your own powers. It is certainly from Allah Azza wa Jal, and He's given to us. In fact, the Quran reminds us in Surah An-Nur. You know, some of us are practicing and we think, Alhamdulillah, okay, yeah, I'm practicing, I'm this, I'm that. Even the practicing element we've got, if it wasn't for Allah, shaitan can twist us around within minutes. Within seconds he can twist us around. وَلَوْلَا فَضْلُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ وَرَحْمَتُهُ مَا زَكَى مِنْكُمْ مِنْ أَحَدٍ أَبَدًا. Allah says in Surah An-Nur, He says, if it wasn't for the bounty of Allah Azza wa Jal, if it wasn't for His bounty, then none of you, not a single one of you would have been able to purify his soul. Not a single one would be able to do that. This is Surah 24, ayah number 21. وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يُزَكِّي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. But Allah is the one that purifies whoever He wants. So any of us that think we're practicing, we should just bow down to Allah every day and thank Him that we're practicing. You know, a person saw me yesterday. A person said to me yesterday, he said to me, Shaykh, you know, he said, you know, the most difficult part of our life, he said, he's talking about his own life. He said the most difficult part of his life that he went through. And he asked me, he said, you know, when did you go to madrasa? I said, look, I said, I went to secondary school fine, but at the age of 14, I went to a boarding school. So he said you haven't gone through, though I had a taste of what the secondary school kids are going through, I certainly didn't have what he went through and what most of our youngsters are going through. He said the most difficult period is the college period. College, and then when you go into university, he said, you know, you're in a world where every fitna is in front of you. Every day you walk in front of you, every day it's pulling you. Every day it's kind of on your mind, you know, whether you talk about the girls, you talk about the drugs out there, whether you talk about the, you know, the late nights out there, whether, you know, the low sort of, whatever you want to put the life that is out there. He said every day for 3-4 years you're in front of this, and this is the norm. This becomes the norm. And he said this is a big thing that starts to break your and challenge your iman. And you know, you can listen to talks and you can try and get try and get close to Allah, that's fine, but it's a huge challenge that our young brothers and sisters are facing every single day. Not that, you know, there's a license for them to do anything wrong, but it is a big challenge that they're facing. And what he said to me is that, you know, this is the ajib and most strange thing. He said the brothers that brought him to Islam during his college days, the brothers that brought him to Islam, towards Islam, from a complete non-Islamic background, he was a born Muslim, fine, but they gave him da'wah and they brought him to Islam, practicing Islam. He said those same brothers today, he said, they're gone. You know, they got no beard, now those days they had beard when they brought him towards it, he's got beard now. He said the same brothers, they're gone, they don't pray, they don't, you know, they don't do any of the religion. He said it was a phase they went through, and after that, you know, they went out. So when we think that Allah's given me something, Allah's giving you something, don't think that, you know, I've got it now. All these poor people, they don't pray, and these poor people, they don't do this, and they don't keep hijab, and they don't keep beards and this. Within moments, shaitan can get to us. And it's only through the bounty of Allah, like I said, Allah keeps us on the straight path. And this is Suleiman alayhi salam here teaching us. He says, min fadli rabbi, hadha min fadli rabbi. This is from my Lord's bounty. Liyabluwani, He's testing me. Even when He's giving me such a great gift, He's testing me to see, do I still thank Him, or do I show my, you know, ungratefulness at this moment? What He's saying here is that when Allah's gifted us with money, with pleasure, with a good life, with a good house, with a good job, with a good security, whatever, that's the moment that Suleiman alayhi salam is telling us to reflect on. From his words, we understand that in the time of prosperity, you're supposed to reflect and think, at that moment, Allah wants me to become further grateful to Him, not ungrateful because of what I've received. And then in the end He says that whosoever is ungrateful at that time, فَإِنَّ رَبِّي غَنِيٌّ كَرِيمٌ, my Lord is most independent from that person, my Lord is most noble. Do we have a quick question by anybody? I know we've said a lot today. Yes, go on.
But I have been flowing the same subject of all of different scholars. as I've mentioned, there's many different according to Jinn. You have mentioned that sometimes Jinn can be used like normal human being. While most of the scholars they say it's not absolutely good to get to succeed with Jinn because of different lines.
Yeah, there are. Look, your brother, you're right.
I want to know what's your position about. Is it
Look, when we say, there's the hadith that that one you're referring to. If a jinn actually is used to try and get information, it's a separate thing. It's a separate thing because the Quran affirms that the jinns don't know the unseen. They don't know the unseen. That's what the Quran confirms. And to use a jinn to try and get information, there is definitely a whole cautious thing that needs to be done here, because jinns can lie. And the Prophet ﷺ has told us that sometimes they get information, they get one truth and mix it with 99 lies, and then they give it to the person. This is all to do with the fortune tellers, okay, that use the information to tell people. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that at all. We're talking about something else. And even then, what I've explained in the session is that if a person, according to certain scholars, does have some kind of connection with the jinns and he uses it for something which is within the Sharia means, not to break the Sharia at all, for the benefit of other human beings, then that's something which some scholars have accepted and they've given. Other scholars haven't. But what I want to say to you is that it doesn't mean, look, in Islam we've got many opinions and we have to respect all the different opinions. We've got a lot of opinions, and there's opinions that are divided on all matters in Islam. There are certain opinions that we will not accept, and that has to be very, very much from the Quran and Sunnah, the reason why we don't accept them. But there are others there are other opinions we do. Go on. No, listen, you like I said to you, look, I said in the session, if anybody wants to go according to the first set of scholars and say this is not allowed, fine. And I said also that 95 or 9% of people who will try to go that way is going to be very dangerous. I said that. However, what I'm saying is that there is also an opinion, and there is also, like what we're doing here, we're looking at the tafsir. And if you look in tafsir, you will find a lot of things that have been mentioned there. Okay, you cannot just reject a whole set of scholars' statements just because many scholars or a number of scholars don't accept something. So what I'm saying is, if you want to follow that opinion and many others do, fine, follow that, you're in the right. But there's also another opinion, we have to respect that. And that will be done within condition, like I explained all the conditions and all that. So it's not just me just saying, yeah, go ahead and do that, okay, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Have the adhan, inshallah.
الحاملات سنا ونور والراسمات هنا سرور يا حلوة تلك السنين.
The Safar curriculum covers all the Islamic educational needs of young Muslims today in a fun, simple and engaging way. Tried and tested for over 15 years at one of the UK's leading maktabs, the curriculum has been adopted by hundreds of institutions around the world and makes your child's journey in seeking knowledge easy, meaningful and dynamic. This innovative and comprehensive curriculum covers Quran and Tajweed, Islamic studies, du'as and surahs, as well as Arabic in an integrated and structured way. Visit safarpublications.org to find out more.